and gentlemen, welcome to Emergency Management Associates, coming to you from the Area Command 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. We want to across. Hello, hello, hello. My video just froze. Son of a bitch. Coming to you from the Area Command 392. Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates. Coming to you from the miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina at the Area Command. We want to welcome everybody who's joined us here on the program tonight. And thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. I just had to change the notification from it's made for kids to it's not made for kids. So I hope you'll stand by here. We will have our chat up here in just a second. It should be here now. Okay, good. We're here. Thank you for joining us, guys. We appreciate all of you being here with us. Folks, we have a show for you tonight. I was going to show you a lot of earthquakes and stuff. So far, my software on this computer won't let me go there. However, I want to show you something else. Okay? It'll let me show you that either. Here it is. Yes, it is. This is visible right now to the naked eye. You'll be able to see it about 7 a.m. in the morning. 7 a.m. in the morning. Folks, it will be a good thing. Okay? I was going to show you a lot of earthquakes and stuff. Let me turn down my volume on my monitor here. I want to tell you what's going on. This is a new comet that has been found coming close to the Earth. It's headed for the sun. Come April, we're going to have a partial eclipse. It will be a total eclipse in some regions. However, in my region where I live, it will only be a partial eclipse, if that. But those of you who live in the blackout region of where this comet is going to be visible, this elliptical area where the sun will be obscured by the moon, you will be able to see this comet in the dark shadows of the moon as it races across the moon towards the sun. So folks, okay, I'm just told that all of you need to refresh your monitors. The chat is open. Okay? This is a cool comet. Okay? I've got the picture here with us right now. It's a really cool comet. Tomorrow morning during the early dawn hours is when you're going to first see it. Thursday morning, February 22nd, tomorrow morning. Set your alarm for dawn. Okay? Venus and Mars will meet in the sunrise sky. Look low and to the east to see the two planets line up in the sky. Look low and to the east, only 0.6 degrees apart. You're going to notice more brilliant planet Venus first. However, if you're looking very closely, you may see Mars. If you have binoculars or a telescope, you will see the red planet. But you're going to need binoculars. but the comet you might also see in the dawn sky. But it will be visible come April when we have the solar eclipse. Some parts of the United States, the solar eclipse will be very bright. In other areas, the solar eclipse will be not even visible. Okay? I just want to warn people about that. Another issue I want to tell people about, folks, is something very bad. Okay? We talked about the trucker strike in Canada last year, and Prime Minister Trudeau had real issues. He didn't like what happened. The truckers went into Ottawa and jammed the roadways up. They parked right outside of the Parliament building in Ottawa. Trudeau got mad. He had some of the truckers jailed. Others, he sealed their bank accounts so they couldn't get paid and they couldn't have their families live in homes. Some of those truckers got evicted from their homes because of Trudeau. Now, today, last week, we found out that the truckers weren't going into New York after what Biden did in New York with President Trump. Now the truckers announced that they would strike against New York City. Truckers across the nation that are independent have said they will not breach the New York City area. They will not cross the George Washington Bridge. That strike against New York City started Monday morning. Companies like Lowe's and other large stores as that are having problems getting trucks in or out of New York. Truckers don't even want to go there. Lowe's just paid a trucking broker 30% more to get one truck. To get one truck into New York and transport product outside of New York. Isn't that interesting? The truckers' protest is in full swing. New York City is having to pay more for their product. But that's also going to hamper consumers in New York. If you think you live in New York and you're going to go out for dinner in a New York restaurant, be advised, at least for the time being, you're probably not going to be able to do that. Restaurants and any other stores probably won't be able to get you in because they don't have the food or manpower or anything else to make sure they can serve you. You need to be aware of that. They mean business. Because of what Biden and his cohorts have done in New York is going to suffer. And yes, it's the politicians in New York. The politicians in New York have started this. It started off with the governor. Then it went to the New York City mayor. Then it went to the attorney general, who got elected on the premise that she was going to go after Trump and bankrupt him. And that's what this new story is in New York that's causing the trucker strike now. Judge Engeron in New York, or Engeron, said that he was going to impose a fine against President Trump, $380-some million. Trump just got through going through a suit against some woman that said he raped her, but she had no evidence. They convicted him on that. They got him on this supposed fraud charge in New York. there was no fraud. There are no witnesses that would be standing up against President Trump. They didn't do that. Every bank witness that the prosecution called said they had no qualms against President Trump. They took his business and they got a lot of money out of it. President Trump didn't lie to them. President Trump didn't lie to anybody. If anybody knows how land holdings and real estate works anywhere, they know that the person holding the real estate wants to get the most bang for their buck. That's normal. That's absolutely normal. That's what President Trump did in New York. But the state of New York, and yes, it was the state of New York, pressured the city of New York to go after President Trump. And who's on top of that? President Biden's on top of that. The United States Attorney General pressured New York. New York has gone after President Trump and leveled a heavy fine against him. But there was no fraud. There was absolutely no fraud. And yet, New York got away with it. President Trump has now gone over and posted legal standing to stop the state from taking money from him right now, until another hearing from another judge goes through, and that can take months. So the city of New York and the state of New York can't get any money out of President Trump right now, nor President Trump's sons. President Trump's sons have been told by Judge Engoron that they cannot have business in New York for 2 years. They told President Trump that he can't do business in New York for 3 years. Yet there's been no fraud. Nobody was willing to stand and say that Trump had committed fraud, and yet that's exactly the charge that Judge Engoron has against Trump. And now he's fined Trump. I don't think it will stand. If it does stand, all hell's going to break loose. But right now, if you want to do business in New York, you probably are not going to have anything there to do business with, because the truckers aren't going to bring it in, and the truckers aren't going to take it out either. Any companies that want to do business in New York are going to pay a high price to do it. Those people living in New York City or in the outlying areas, you folks are going to pay high prices for food because the truckers aren't going to bring it in. And anybody that is going to bring it in, some commercial firm that might be willing to bring it in, you're going to pay a higher price for the food. So prices are going to skyrocket. Now, why am I talking about this? Because, folks, this trucker strike could have outlying problems with us. It could cause higher prices where we live. Now, it's not quite as serious where we live as in New York, but guess what? Things might get bad as well. The United States government, the feds, are trying to keep us from buying seed to plant gardens. They're trying to make a law against us raising our own food, so we won't have food to eat ourselves. And what food we have at the stores is also going to be very pricey because what the United States government is doing. It's got to be stopped. Each and every one of us must take a stand. We must take a stand against this everywhere that we live. We need to tell our politicians, our governors, our state congressmen and senators, and our federal congressmen and senators, no, don't do this at all. Don't let it happen. Now, I want to tell you this. And some of you may already know this. We are in a world of hurt. We're in a real world of hurt. Nobody wants to even admit it at all. If we don't take a stand, we're going to lose out everything. If we don't call our state senators, our congressmen in the state, we don't call the feds at the White House or the U.S. Congress, we're going to have problems. The United States Congress cannot even meet to discuss a budget. We have not had an annual budget in the United States for years now. It's a rolling budget that lasts 90 days, and then it lasts another 90 days, and another 90 days. That's what we're operating on. So the United States will not be bankrupt and not be able to pay its bills. That could be a worst case scenario for all of us. If there's no money, if Congress does not put out an allotment of money for the government and government spending, those of us who are retired will not get any Social Security money. We may not also get any pension from where we live, whether it be a police department, a city, a county. You might not get your pension because the cities and counties are also founded by the doggone federal government. So it's a great big huge ball. It's a rolling wheel, and it's going to roll downhill. Okay? And it's not just here in the United States, it's going to be all over the world. If the United States declares bankruptcy, or the Congress does not give the president another rolling budget, the U.S. isn't going to pay its bills. If the U.S. can't pay its bills, where are we going to get goods and services from other countries? And other countries are not going to have any money either. And then they're going to have problems. And their citizens are not going to eat either. See, this is a rolling wheel. And once the wheel starts rolling, we all are in trouble. It's all over the world. It's a world situation. Now, Don Patoka just published in the chat the Washington switchboard operator. The number is 202-224-3121 in Washington, D.C. That's how you get a hold of the senators or congressmen and even the President of the United States. You may not get to speak to the congressmen or senators or the President, but at least leave them a message, and do so conservatively. Don't yell at them, don't swear at them, but get your message across. Don't be rude because they'll hang up on you. And then you might see a visit from some people that have handcuffs. And I don't think anybody wants to see that. Don't threaten anybody. Don't be rude to them and don't yell at them. But you need to be very stern and tell them in Washington that you want a balanced budget. Do we think we're going to get it? Not if we don't force them to. Not if we don't ask them for it. Once we ask them for it, maybe they'll work on it. Yes, they could do that. Okay? They could do that. But with the Democrat Congress, I doubt it's going to happen. But we need to at least try. Why? Because it affects each and every one of us. That's why. Don Patoka said the new Green Deal is like a watermelon. Green on the outside and communist red on the inside. He's exactly right. Don Patoka is exactly right. Okay? It's incredible. It's like nobody's listening. Nobody's listening anywhere because very few people even care. Those of us who are on social media, on YouTube or Rumble, do care. We've made it abundantly clear that we do care. But if we don't start helping ourselves and forcing our representatives to do something, it's not going to get done. And this president is worthless. He's totally worthless. He's old. Everybody knows that. 2 years ago, he started falling upstairs, climbing up the stairs to Air Force One. Climbing up the stairs, he fell twice, then again the third time. He's mentally incapable of making decisions, or even if he's off his medication, from even speaking a sentence that can be heard and heard well. He needs medication. He needs cue cards that tell him what to say. If he gets off the cue cards, he's unintelligible or he mumbles. He's too old to be there. 82 years old is too old to be president. Honestly. But we need to do something. We need to get him out of office. Now, Harris is not much better. Okay? I'm sorry to say, Harris is worthless. But Biden is more worthless. Okay? You pick your wars. We need to get these Democrat communists out of office. And that's what I've been calling them, Democrat communists, because that's exactly what they are. Okay? It's crazy. I never even thought that this would happen. I've talked about this before on this program. I never even thought this would happen in my lifetime. But it is. It's incredible. Lamazalite says in the chat saying that she wrote a letter to her congressman, Chuck Edwards, asking him to support the release of Julian Assange in England. Congressman Edwards replied, what a good job he was doing, and no mention of Assange. These congressmen are patting themselves on the back. They're not doing anything for us. And yes, this is our taxpayer money. Biden is bleeding the coffers dry. He's sending our money overseas. He's sending our military might overseas. And we're not getting anything back. The only people who give us anything back are Israel. When President Trump was in office, he made European countries pay us back from World War II. They had extended debts from World War II. European countries were paying us back. China owed us money. They started paying us back. Countries from all over the world owed the United States money. Trump was getting it back. The exact opposite thing has happened now with Biden. He's given our money away. He's lost control of our borders. When President Trump left office in 2020, the borders were fairly secure, and he was still trying to secure the rest of the borders with fence. But Biden said no. Biden wanted the fences taken down. The fences weren't taken down, but the equipment and the steel fence was sold off. Biden ordered it shipped out of the border area and sold. He's not doing anything to build a fence at all. He said he is, but he's done nothing. And people from 161 countries around the world still pour into the United States on a daily basis. With that said, the only person in this country that's actually getting something done about it is Governor Abbott in Texas. Governor Abbott in Texas has gotten over 25 other states to help out with finances, to help out bringing more military hardware and National Guard into Texas. Some states have even sent law enforcement to Texas to assist the Texas law enforcement. They have nearly shut down the border in that border town where just 3 weeks ago it was going crazy. They shut it nearly down. Now they're going north, trying to shut the rest of the border down. Governor Abbott yesterday signed a law into being. If you come into Texas, you will be apprehended and you will be arrested and identified. And if they have their will, you will be deported back to your country of origin. Unreal. Biden should be thanking Texas for helping him control the border, but he's not. Biden still wants to take Governor Abbott and slap him upside the head. Biden attorneys, the DOJ, went to the U.S. Supreme Court just about a month ago. And the U.S. Supreme Court sided with the Biden administration to allow more people to come across the border. But Governor Abbott did not listen to that. Governor Abbott, along with 25 other states and more, sent law enforcement and the National Guard and other services and equipment over to Texas to secure the border. Every state in the United States is a border state, because people keep coming across the border and wanting to go to Chicago. They're wanting to go to Oklahoma City. They're wanting to go to New York. They're wanting to go to Salt Lake City. They're wanting to go to California. Every state in the United States is a border state. And you folks that live outside the United States, the same thing is happening in your own countries. These illegal people are still going into the countries. It's got to be stopped. It's got to be stopped. Each of us that's listening to this program tonight needs to do something in your own countries, in your own cities, and in your own provinces and states, because this is a worldwide problem. The people in France themselves started protesting against the government, taking cow dung and horse dung and dropping it on the Parliament steps in France, because the ranchers and farmers are tired of what the French government has been doing, allowing anybody to come pell-mell into France. And those same refugees coming into France are not really refugees. They're causing problems. They're gang members. They are prisoners from other governments coming into the countries to destroy the countries. It's no longer a crime to be protesting against your government when the protesters are terrorists or illegal aliens. Okay? It's stupid. It's gotten out of hand in every country. Richard Smith says Chuck Norris versus Old Joe. Yeah, wouldn't that be nice? Chuck Norris is in his 80s too. I believe he's 88. He can knock out Old Joe. Yeah. An 88-year-old man in Chuck Norris could take out Old Joe. Don Patoka says naivete is not a virtue, but it is the evil of ignorance and omission. I have to agree with Don again. If we ignore it, if we just sit back and ignore what's going on, we are as evil as those people that are committing the atrocities. We are as evil as those people committing the atrocities. We're as evil as our congressmen and senators are. We're as evil as Joe Biden. If we stand back or sit back and not do anything, we might as well close the book on our life. Our life will be over as we know it. We've talked about this before. Back about 6 or 7 years ago, when I was in Salt Lake City, I found out that a convention center called the Salt Lake Salt Palace had been taken over by the United Nations. So I made a trip there to see for myself what had happened at the Salt Palace. And I was accosted by a United Nations police officer wearing dark blue or black pants and a light blue shirt. The patches on the shoulder sleeves said United Nations on them, and they had a badge. I was told by the policeman at the door that I could not enter to talk to anyone there about the United Nations. As soon as you cross the threshold of that door, you are no longer protected by the United States government. The Salt Palace in Salt Lake City is run by the United Nations. Nobody even thought about doing anything but throwing the United Nations out of our cities, out of our country. And yet now, the United Nations has a foothold in almost every major city around the country and around the world. If you think that the United Nations doesn't have control, you're part of the problem. The United Nations is trying to kick us out of the United States. The United Nations, along with the I won't even spell it, the World Economic Forum, wants all of us dead. That and the New World Order and the World Health Organization as well. They don't like us. They don't like us at all. Lem is the Light is here in the chat saying, Ron, my home insurance doubled. Mine did too, and I canceled my homeowner's insurance. Everything is doubling. My phone bill. Our phone bill here is doubled. It's not just that. My ability to communicate with you with the internet broadband has nearly doubled as well. Some of you are helping me with that, with donations to PayPal and Venmo, and donations through the Postal Service. Some of you are helping me. But quite honestly, we have not had anything at the post office in weeks. Nobody is supporting us there. Last night, I got a donation from Stacy in PayPal. I also got a small donation from Rebecca, NCWQ Explorer, here in the chat. I appreciate that. Everything is skyrocketing. Who knows what's going to happen? Right before I came on this program, I got a note from messaging on my telephone saying that I needed to call T-Mobile, who is my carrier, because there was a problem with our phone service. Interesting. Okay? Who knows what's going on with our telephones? Okay? It's incredible. It's stupid. The United States government and the federal governments around the world, including Canada, I haven't left out anybody. It's happening all over. Folks, you need to be aware of it. You need to become very aware of it. Your bills are going to skyrocket from here on out. And it's not just that. They're going, like I said, they're going to try to take seed away from us so we can't plant gardens to feed ourselves. I have seed left over from last year. My gardens are going to go in another 30 days once the freezes are over. I implore you to do the same thing. We need to protect ourselves. If we can't protect ourselves, we might as well just give up, and I'm not willing to give up. Okay? Again, Don Patoka's in the chat, and I want to share with you what he said. During the Great Depression, and that's what this is turning into being. During the Great Depression, many folks foraged in the wild, and that was all they had. The results was many decades to bring back the flora and the fauna to the prior levels. The population is now tripled. The population of the United States has tripled. It's tripled around the world. What do we have to show for it? Very little anymore. Our governments don't want us to survive. Are you willing to stand up for yourselves? Are you willing to try to plant your own gardens? Not even try, but to plant your own gardens. Calamities are going to continue to happen. They're not going to stop. Just in the past few weeks, we've seen a lot of earthquakes happen. Very strong 6.0s and 6.8s around the world. Now we're seeing a lot of 5s. Another 5.0 hit this morning down in the South Sandwich Islands, down in the southern part of the Atlantic Ocean. That was a large 5.0 earthquake. That 5.0 earthquake is going to go straight up the Mid-Atlantic Fault. Sometime in the next 72 hours, we're probably going to see it come out of the South Atlantic area going into the North Mid-Atlantic. And then it's going to hit again and again and again as it goes north towards Iceland and Svalbard to the north of that. It's going to happen. We keep seeing 5.0 earthquakes happening down in Indonesia. By the way, today the Indonesian areas had 27 earthquakes, of which only a handful have been recognized by the USGS. Another moderate earthquake happened off the northeast coast of Mindanao, Philippines, the biggest island in the Philippines. 2.5 months ago, they had a 9.0 earthquake there. Mindanao, Philippines is still getting hammered there. And they've had earthquakes south of Mindanao Island, Philippines, and even north into Luzon, Philippines. We've seen 5.0 earthquakes hitting over in Taiwan and even Japan. Just about 4 weeks ago, Noto Peninsula had an earthquake that hit there over in the Sea of Japan. It was an 8.4 earthquake. It killed hundreds of people, and even more hundreds died as a result of that. Incredible. Incredible. Today, more earthquakes hit there as well. It's not over. A lot of earthquakes are hitting. I want everybody, no matter what country you're in, where you're at, to make sure you do your best to survive what's going on. Ray is in the chat, says, humans have not had electricity longer than they have. We'll be okay as a species. The only way we're going to be okay as a species is if we do something to help ourselves. Really. We must help ourselves. Demon Catman is in the chat and said Java, Indonesia had a 5.1 earlier. A 5.1 earthquake earlier. Guess what? It was a deep earthquake. 597 kilometers deep. Do you know what's going to happen as a result of that earthquake? That earthquake is going to travel. It's going to propagate. Large, deep earthquakes become even larger earthquakes, and they're going to be shallower earthquakes. Shallower, larger earthquakes cause massive damage. So this 5.1 today is going to result in at least a 6.2, 6.3 earthquake. Fact. Fact. So someplace in Indonesia or over in Papua New Guinea is going to get hit by a 6.0, 6.2 earthquake within the next 72 hours to 10 days. A very strong 6 earthquake can do massive damage. 5.1 earthquakes can kill people. Yes, they can kill people. And they have killed people. I've watched it happen. We've reported on it here. If you think I'm crazy, go look at the earthquake map yourself. Okay? Over here in Europe, look at this. Isn't it? Look at all those earthquakes in Northern Europe. Okay? Let's go over to Sweden and Norway. Look at these earthquakes here. I have never seen these many earthquakes in Sweden or Norway ever before. Most of these are 1.2, 1.5, 1.8, 1.9, and 2.4 earthquakes. That's incredible. Like I said, I've never seen that in my life. Never. In northern Sweden, this is a 1.8 tremor in northern Sweden. Folks, it's bad. It's bad. This earthquake over in the North Sea just off of the shore of Norway is a 1.8 here. That's a 1.8 earthquake, tremor. Okay? Folks, it's getting hit. Earlier today in Iceland, the volcano I told you about that erupted early 2000s looks like it might start trying to erupt now. It already started. Grímsfjell, Iceland, a 2.8 earthquake here. Under that ice is a volcano, and the last time it erupted, it closed down air traffic all over Europe. 2.8 earthquake there today. Now, I want to show you this. Madisonville, Tennessee, on the eastern side of the New Madrid Fault. A 1.52 earthquake, tremor. But folks, let me tell you something. The USGS should be very embarrassed because they're not showing all of the earthquakes that are happening all over the New Madrid Fault. Before I came on the air today, I looked at all the earthquakes on the New Madrid Fault. Guess what? We have 3.5s. We have a 4.0 earthquake. A 4.0 earthquake in Tiptonville, Tennessee. A 4.0 earthquake in Tiptonville, Tennessee. By the way, guys, guess what? USGS didn't put it on the map. So it possibly didn't exist, except on the seismograms. The seismograms don't lie. I'm telling you guys, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about all these earthquakes that are hitting? And yes, they're hitting. Nobody can deny what's going on. USGS can deny it all they want. They can deny it till the cows come home. Guess what? They're not going to have a leg to stand on. They're not going to have a leg to stand on. Just a second, I'm going to edit this seismogram so you can see it and not my computer. I want you to see what I see. If you weren't looking for these earthquakes, you wouldn't find them. This is Tiptonville, Tennessee. Top to bottom and side to side. Look what happened today in Tiptonville, Tennessee. And it's still happening. Even the seismogram from this afternoon shows good-sized earthquakes all over Tiptonville, Tennessee, all day long, top to bottom, side to side. Look at these earthquakes here at the bottom of that. Look at those primary waves here, those earthquakes. These are not 2.0 earthquakes, guys. These are 3.5, 4.0 earthquakes in Tiptonville, Tennessee. We've shown you earthquakes in various places along the New Madrid Fault. They're all still hitting. Each and every one of them are still hitting. Look at that. It's hitting. It's hitting all over the place. Marked Tree, Arkansas. Marked Tree, Arkansas has had 3.5 earthquakes off and on all morning and all evening. Okay? It's normal. It's normal to see in Marked Tree, Arkansas. It happens there every day. I don't know what to tell you. If you're not looking for it, you're not going to find it. Little Rock, Arkansas had 2.5, 2.8 earthquakes. A bunch of tremors today. Little Rock, Arkansas. Manila, Arkansas today. Tremors. Needham, Arkansas. Just east of Marktree. Tremors and a 3.0 earthquake about 11:40 a.m. this morning. A 3.0 small earthquake in Needham, Arkansas. Just months ago, all we could see were tremors. Now Needham, Arkansas is having small earthquakes. Folks, it's happening everywhere. Truman, Arkansas, in southern Arkansas, is also having 4.0 earthquakes. Similar to what Marktree, Arkansas is having. The USGS and the other agencies are cutting off the tops and the bottoms of the earthquakes in Truman, Arkansas, because they're so large. Just like they do everywhere else. So they don't have to admit how strong these earthquakes are. I tell you folks, unless you go try to find it, you won't see it. Some people say we're blind, that justice is blind. You have to go find the trouble. Because if you don't, sooner or later the trouble will hit you. It'll smack you upside the face. We've seen it happen time and time and time again. Is it going to continue to happen? Yes. That's the short answer. Is anybody even started writing their emergency preparedness plan like we've been counseling everybody to do for 5 years now? Is everybody even thinking about doing it? Or are you just to the point where you don't want to think about it? It's not important to you. It's not important. Is your family's lives are important? Are your family's lives important? If so, why have you not written an emergency plan? You want to save your life? You need to also save your family's life, each member of your family. Your husband, your wife, your children, your dogs and cats, or whatever animals you have. They're not going to save themselves. If you are the only person that knows what's going on, if you don't tell someone about it in your family and something happens, how are you going to feel? How are you going to feel when something happens and they die or they get hurt because you didn't advise them what is going on and you didn't try to help them? That is exactly what we're saying today. The Niagara Fault goes all the way north into Illinois, up into the Great Lakes. Illinois and Ohio. Illinois and Ohio. And yes, there are earthquakes there. 2.2, 2.5 earthquakes. And tons of tremors. Yes, there are earthquakes up north. Indiana. Evansville, Indiana. earthquakes. Earthquakes. We talked to you also about earthquakes on the East Coast. The earthquakes on the East Coast happen because the Atlantic Fault is pushing the North American plate in a south-southwesterly direction. As a result, we have earthquakes here on the East Coast. Accomack, Virginia, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, here in North Carolina. Now, I didn't, because I was trying to get on the air, I did not have time to show you something important. I'm hoping that you're going to be able to see what's going on from just seeing my phone. Rebecca and I live here in North Carolina, and some others of you also here, for example, Renee, who also lives here. I want you to see this. See if you can see what's going on. Watch my bottle of water. See the surface of the water move. I was nowhere near my desk and there was no one walking around the upper floor of our apartment. Yet the upper surface of the water was moving. I'm hoping you can see that and understand what's going on. These are tremors that are happening here in Morganton, North Carolina. Earth is moving here. Okay, I'm watching it now on my monitor here, and you really can't see the water moving, unfortunately. But it is. The water is moving there in my bottle. I take my water in my bottle and put it here. The water is moving here, meaning the ground is shaking. It's crazy. It's crazy. We talk about earthquakes here on the East Coast. That's been the first time I've been able to show you seismic activity right here from our home here. It wasn't major, it's just minor tremors. You can't feel it, but you can see it. The earth is moving everywhere, Nathan Hester just said in the chat. You're right. It's moving. You folks that live on or near the New Madrid Fault, I get messages from you telling me that you're feeling earthquakes, not just tremors. You're absolutely right, you are. What are we doing about it? Have we written our emergency preparedness plans? Have we started saving our food? Putting together food for food storage? Putting food away for a rainy day? Or an earthquake day? Or when the shelves of the stores start going bare again? Just like they did during the pandemic? It's going to happen again. Our politicians are responsible for it. Unless we take action ourselves, it's going to continue. It's going to continue for a very long time. Are you ready to deal with it? Or are you just going to walk away and ignore it and pretend it didn't happen? I'm doing everything I can. Let me tell you something else that happened to me several days ago. NCWQ Explorer says North Carolina USBS says that they don't have enough money to study the faults in North Carolina. I say they're full of BS, and she's right. Rebecca and I talked about it the other day. We talked about it again today. Okay? USBS says nothing, except they don't have the money. They do have the money. They're just being told not to do anything. That's what's really going on. We need to be proactive. A friend of mine told me a long time ago, we need to be proactive. We need to get started and making sure what we're doing is right. Putting one foot forward in front of the other and keep on going. If we don't, we're screwed. We're totally screwed. We have to prepare. Without preparing, you're not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere. You're going to just basically walk in place. You're not going to go forward. Proactive preparing. Proactive preparing will lead to good performance. Without proactive preparing, we're going to have poor performance. We're not going to survive. We're going to have to say goodbye to our children because they're not going to survive either. I would rather die than have my pets or my children starve. Yeah. If I have to, my food will go to my kids before I eat it myself. That's it. That's it. Are you doing anything to prepare your family? Writing your plan, getting your food storage, or bringing in survival food if you have the money to buy that? Are you preparing with water? Do you have enough water in your home to survive even a week or two? Or weeks, months? I've been very proactive in making sure Carol and my kids here and I have water and food. We all need to work. We all need to make it happen. We're presently still in the wintertime season, probably for another 4 to 6 weeks. We need to make sure our emergency preparedness kits are still stocked with warm clothing, making sure we still have access to our jackets and coats, making sure our car is still running, making sure it's well taken care of so it doesn't stall out on us on the roadway. That would be the worst case scenario. What are we doing? What are we doing? I've just touched the tip of the iceberg here. I shouldn't even say I've touched the tip. I've only touched the bottom of the iceberg. We're still trying to climb it. I am still trying to get all of you to write a preparedness plan. I will bet not even a quarter of you have even started writing a preparedness plan. I know I'm getting a lot of people that haven't been on our channel before. Back in 2014, I got a message from FEMA asking a simple question of all emergency managers around the United States. And I've told this story before, I'm telling it again. There was only one question on the survey from FEMA. The question was, How many emergency managers around the United States had a 72-hour kit? Food, water, clothing, and other emergency essentials in a 72-hour kit. How many did? 25%. 1/4 of all emergency managers around the United States had an emergency preparedness kit. A 72-hour kit. 25%. And yet, FEMA was telling us then to tell everybody around us to have a 72-hour kit. I remember because I was harping on that, and I still am. Because I will bet you that not even 25% of you have a 72-hour kit. Food, water, first aid, personal ID or personal items, and have put away some kind of money to survive on. How many are? If you haven't started, you need to start today. You need to start today. You may not have through the end of this year. Things are going to get really, really bad. Okay? You need to get ready and do it now. Do it now. Okay? I've been preaching. I've been talking about it. I've been helping people. I can't do it for you. I can lead you to water, but are you going to drink? Do you think it's something that's important for all of you? I do. I do. Richard Smith over in Nova Scotia, Canada, asked a question in the chat. He said he needs a list of all ham radio repeaters, meaning radios on top of mountainsides that take the signal from a ham radio, like I have here, take the radio signal from the ham radio, and it goes up to a mountainside to another radio on top of the mountain that strengthens the signal and sends it back out again to a larger area. That's a ham repeater. He needs a list of all ham radio repeaters in the USA and Canada. Richard Smith, it's on the internet. It's on the internet. Okay? You can also go to the American Radio Relay League. The American Radio Relay League. I think they also have a list of all ham radio repeaters in the United States. They may also have a list of radio repeaters in Canada. If they don't have one in Canada, the Canadian Radio Relay League there should have one. Okay? Ham radios are very important as well. I've shown you my ham radios. I've shown you my family radio service radios. I've shown you my AR, AM, FM weather radios here. I've shown you police radios here. I've set the example for you. I've set the example. I'm not willing to ask you guys to do anything that I'm not willing to do myself. I'm just trying to help you get the information you need to become prepared and to do it yourself. Not let me just do it for me and my family, but do it yourself. Jimmy Wilkie's here, telling everybody in the chat, hello. That's wonderful. I'm glad Jamie's here. I'm glad all of you are here. But I'm asking each one of you again, make sure you have a preparedness kit. Make sure you're writing your emergency preparedness plans. Make sure you have a first aid kit, a well-stocked first aid kit. Make sure you have food storage. Make sure you have water. It's all necessary. You can't go very long without water, folks. It's absolutely necessary. You might have food, but if you don't have water to help prepare your food, you're screwed. Water and food go hand in hand, literally. You have to have it. Your emergency preparedness kit should include enough clothes to get by for 3 days. It should include enough food to get by for 3 days. It should include toiletries and personal items to get by for 3 days. It should include water to get by for 3 days. Anything that you may need for 3 days should be in your 72-hour kit. Some of us, like myself, have a lot more than that. I have like 5 or 6 totes here that comprise our emergency preparedness kit, as well as a 72-hour kit for Carol and I, and our pups. Don't forget your pups, your kittens, your cats, or whatever pets you have. Don't forget them. Don't leave them to fend for themselves. Because if I was a cop, I'd come kick you in the butt for leaving your animals behind. You can't do that. There's laws against it in many states. Don't do it. Don Patoga is quoting Henry Kissinger, who was a former Secretary of State under Richard Nixon a lot of years ago. Who controls the food? The food supply controls the people. Who controls the energy can control whole continents and doesn't become good just because it is accepted by a majority of people. No, it's not good. And we should never accept that. We should never accept that. Does anybody have any questions for me? I blabber on all night long. I've only given you a touch of earthquakes tonight. There are earthquakes around the globe. Earthquakes in the United States and Canada. Earthquakes in Australia, in Indonesia, all over. Do you have any questions for me? Richard Smith says, can cook clams in salt water. That's a good start. I love clam chowder. Deal me in, Richard. Deal me in. My dear friend Diana Large is here. I appreciate Diana being here. She's a great lady. We have great mods here. We have the best mods in the business here. I haven't seen my dear friend Rob here, Rob52, but I'm hoping he's listening. He usually does. I'm going to call him tonight and see what's going on with him. Don Patoga says your only questions are important. The only bad question is the one not asked. Folks, I'm opening up for you for the next few minutes at least. If you have your questions, don't hesitate to ask. I'm here. I'm going to do a lot more of this. I'm going to do a lot more questions and answers, because everybody deserves to have their questions answered. And I'm sure when you leave this chat room tonight and when you leave the program tonight, you may think of some questions that you might have. And I want to make sure we have answered your questions. Your answered questions might get you to where you need to be. Ginger Gal says, Ron, could you give me a sentence or two of an example of how to start an emergency plan? That's great. That's a great question. I appreciate you answering it, Ginger Gal. Let's start. Where are you at? What are you doing right now? Where are you at and what are you doing right now? First off, figure out where you're at and where you want to go and what you're going to be doing today, tomorrow, and the next day. Where are you going? Write that down. What do you want to do? Write that down. Okay? If you don't know where you're at, you're lost. You're lost. Where are you going? Where are you going? Do you want to take pictures down off of walls if you're going to bug out? What pictures in your house are important for you? Write that down. What other documents are important to you? Important documents, at least photocopies of those documents, should be stuck in a plastic bag, one of those Ziploc gallon bags that you buy in the stores. All of your important documents, all of your insurance documents, your driver's licenses, your medical documents, your shot records, all that can be in a separate bag. All your health records should be in a separate bag. Okay? If you want to go someplace and you can't stay in your house, where are you going to go? You need to have maps.
Dad's asked the question. Somewhere in there.
That's a good place to start. That's a great place to start. My wife is saying that 8 dogs had a question here. 8 ducks. I'm sorry, 8 ducks. Is there a seismic monitoring in southern South Carolina? Yes. We shake every now and then. Go over to your state university. Your state university has a seismological department. Go over there on their website and you can pull seismograms. Go over to the Seismological Institute in your state university. Look under seismograms. They will have a list of seismograms from around South Carolina. I know for a fact they do. I've gone to the University of Memphis when I talk about seismograms along the New Madrid Fault and along the East Coast. The University of Memphis has a great set of seismograms. It's listed by date. It goes back 7 days. You can go back to every day for 7 days on the University of Memphis site. Okay? Now, I've been on it already tonight. Okay? It's called Recent Helicorder Displays. Recent Helicorder Displays from the University of Memphis Seismology Department. Recent earthquakes. Recent earthquakes. On the helicorder main page, it has all of the seismographs in various areas for Mid-America. But not just Mid-America, but it also goes to the East Coast. It says broadband networks. Okay? Recent helicorder images for Mid-America. Note these images are not true seismograms and should be not used as such, but they are. Okay? The first broadband network is called CERI, C-E-R-I. That first title there has seismograms from Lebanon State Park, Tennessee, Cooper Cave, Tennessee, Fort Payne, Alabama, Grandfather Mount, North Carolina. Again, it doesn't just cover Middle America. Grandfather Mount, North Carolina, Glass, Tennessee, Gosnell, Arkansas, Halls, Tennessee, Harrisburg, Arkansas, West Memphis, Arkansas, Mud Island, Memphis, Tennessee, Henderson Mound, Missouri, Hickman, Kentucky, Lenox, Tennessee, Lepanto, Arkansas, the Memphis borehole in Tennessee. What is a Memphis borehole? It is a seismograph that sits down in a borehole. The sensor sits down in a huge hole deep in the ground. So it's not sensitive to traffic on the roadway or anywhere near it. Not anywhere near it, including not near railroad tracks. Boreholes are very concise seismograms. That seismograph that monitors that borehole is precise because the sensor's deep in the ground in that borehole. And usually, if there's anything going on in Memphis, you know about it. The same thing in Yellowstone. They have many seismographs in boreholes, so it's not affected by anything. Stall Farm, Missouri, Pemiscot Bayou, Missouri. Pemiscot Bayou, Missouri is a very good seismograph. The seismogram shows a lot of activity. Today it's mostly tremors. Tremors that start off at 8 a.m. this morning and go through all day long. Okay, Pemiscot Bayou, Missouri. Portageville, Missouri. Portageville, Missouri. Tremors today. Usually they also have some earthquakes in Portageville, Missouri. Okay? Mostly tremors here today. Ridgely, Tennessee. We frequently go over to Ridgely, Tennessee. They had some earthquakes and a bunch of tremors for the most part. Ridgely, Tennessee. Sewanee, Tennessee. Nothing but tremors there. Okay? And I'm just going to pick and choose here to give you an idea what we look at here. Cape Girardeau, Missouri. Tremors, mostly. Bloomington, Indiana. Tremors. Fairfield, Illinois. Earthquakes. 2.0, 2.5, 2.9 earthquakes. Literally all day long. Fairfield, Illinois, guys. I told you that the New Madrid Fault reaches up to Illinois and Indiana up to the Great Lakes. Fairfield, Illinois is a busy seismogram all day long. Literally. Okay. I've got another seismograph that's recorded good-sized earthquakes in Portageville, Tennessee today. Good-sized earthquakes, and I'm talking a 3.4, 3.5 earthquakes. Okay? Those are small earthquakes. Okay? Also have some 2.5s here in Portageville, Missouri. Carbondale, Illinois. Tremors. Little Rock, Arkansas. Tremors for the most part. University of Indiana in Evansville in Indiana. Tremors and earthquakes. Again, Indiana as well. Okay? Let's click on another avenue here as well. Okay? Amarillo, Texas. Tremors. On my way here, I stopped at a Quality Inn to stay the night because I was so tired after I had driven from Salt Lake to Texas. When I got out of my truck and went up to my room for the night, there was an earthquake happening, a 2.0 earthquake. The desk moved. My feet felt it as well. People don't usually feel 2.0 earthquakes, but that day there was that earthquake. Blacksburg, Virginia is monitored from the University of Memphis. Brewton, Alabama. Tremors, good-sized tremors here in Brewton, Alabama today. Corbin, Virginia. Tremors. Erie, Pennsylvania. Tremors. Pennsylvania guys monitored from the University of Memphis. Hopedale, Illinois. Tremors. Hockley, Texas. Tremors. Hockley, Texas usually also has some minor earthquakes there. Let's see. Kingsville, Texas. Tremors. Nacogdoches, Texas. Nacogdoches, Texas, tremors. Why do I even stop at Nacogdoches? One of my best friends, who was the head of the police academy that I graduated from, his name's Mr. Staten. He's from Nacogdoches, Texas, a former sheriff's deputy in Nacogdoches, Texas, in the county. He had a lot of stories for me, so I always check Nacogdoches. Sometimes Nacogdoches, Texas has some minor earthquakes there. New Hope, South Carolina. Tremors. Standing Stone, Pennsylvania. Tremors. Vicksburg, Mississippi. Tremors and a small 3.0 earthquake in Vicksburg, Mississippi today. Okay? That's just one thing here. Let's look at something else here. Okay? How about Ozark Folk Center, Arkansas? North Central Arkansas. Earthquake after earthquake after earthquake today. Incredible. Incredible. We've had more earthquakes today here in Arkansas, here at Ozark Folk Center, than I've seen in quite some time. Look at that. 3.0 earthquakes after 7:15 this morning. 6:15 and 7:15. 7:30, 7:45, and again after 10:30 in the morning, and again after 11:45 this morning. That's incredible. That's incredible. Ozark Folk Center. That is the most earthquakes that I've seen at Ozark Folk Center. Okay? That's a big deal. That's a huge deal. It's happening, guys. It's happening. Look at all those earthquakes. That's North Central Arkansas. Let's look here. Okay, let's see here. Stronghurst, Illinois. Tremors. Mostly just tremors. Stronghurst, Illinois. Blacksburg, South Carolina. This is Kings Mountain, South Carolina. Earthquakes. Tremors and earthquakes all morning long in Blacksburg, South Carolina. This afternoon, more tremors and earthquakes in Blacksburg, South Carolina. Okay? I'm scrolling down here. I'm just picking up stuff to talk about here. Mineral, Virginia. Earthquakes. 3 earthquakes this morning and a bunch of tremors. Okay? Mineral, Virginia. This is on the East Coast. Where do these East Coast earthquakes come from? The Atlantic Fault. The Mid-Atlantic Fault is moving. It's expanding. This afternoon in Mineral, Virginia, 4 more earthquakes. And these earthquakes are 3.2, 3.5 earthquakes. Decent-sized earthquakes, just like Ozark Folk Center. Okay? Lafayette, Indiana. Tremors. Sharon Grove, Kentucky. Tremors. Tipton, Georgia. I often show you tremors and earthquakes in Tipton, Georgia. This morning until about 8:30, it was just very minor, tiny tremors. After that, just after, or I should say just before 10:30 this morning, Tipton, Georgia had a 3.0 earthquake. A small earthquake in Tipton, Georgia. Okay? You can't make this stuff up. King, North Carolina. King, North Carolina had an earthquake at about 8:49 a.m. this morning. It was at least a 3.2 small earthquake and a few tremors. Okay? That's the result of that Mid-Atlantic fault I'm talking about. King, North Carolina. Sandy Mush, North Carolina. Tremors. Taylorsville, North Carolina, just north of me. 45 miles north of me, just tremors. Pittsboro, North Carolina, north and east of me. Tremors. Roper, North Carolina, also north and east of me on the coast. Tremors to beat the band until 8:58 this morning. Then, folks, all heck broke loose. 3.5 earthquake lasting a minute and a half. A small 3.5 earthquake lasting a minute and a half over on the northeast coast of North Carolina. Then, at 9:17 this morning, another 3.5 earthquake hit Roper, North Carolina. That seismic event lasted about 30 seconds. Then, about 5 or 6 minutes later, another small seismic event that lasted 2 minutes. A 3.5 earthquake at least. The top and the bottom of this seismic signal were lobbed off. Okay? Probably a 3.5 earthquake at least, if not a larger earthquake here in North Carolina today. And yet, USGS said nothing. And there has not been any radio traffic on the radio and TV stations about this earthquake today. Okay? At least a 3.5, if not a 4.0 earthquake today in Roper, North Carolina. Okay? It's no wonder that this afternoon my water in my water bottle was moving. Like I said, I do not have a glass ball or a crystal ball. My water bottles tell me a lot. Rolla, North Carolina, more earthquakes. Before 8 o'clock this morning, it was quiet. Microquakes and minor tremors. After 8 a.m., all heck broke loose. 2.5 and 3.5 earthquakes happened literally all morning long from 8 a.m. to at least 12 noon. Let me go over here at Rolla, North Carolina here, and it looks like even more activity this afternoon. Let me show you this. It's no wonder that this afternoon my water in my bottle was shaking. With seismic events happening like this, no more than 150 miles from me, guess what? It's no wonder we had tremors here. Look at that. That's big time movement. Big time movement here in North Carolina. Okay? There are other seismograms here from South Carolina. There are there. Scranton. Let's go over to Sumter, South Carolina. Tremors today. Usually we have some 2.5, 3.0 earthquakes in Sumter, South Carolina. That Sumter, South Carolina is east of Logoff or Elgin, North Carolina, Elgin, South Carolina, where we've had good sized earthquakes happen in the past year. Okay, Sumter, South Carolina. Even some small, actually minor earthquakes, 2.0 earthquakes this afternoon in Sumter, South Carolina. Scranton, South Carolina. Tremors. I'm going to go down here to Savannah, Georgia. Tremors, big time tremors, and 2.0, 2.5 earthquakes in Savannah, Georgia today, this morning. Let me look at this afternoon. More, wow, holy cats. I'm glad I came here this afternoon and showed you this. I'm going to show you this evening. This is Savannah, Georgia this evening. Look at that. That's big time movement caused by the Mid-Atlantic Fault in Georgia today. Big time movement. So yes, we talk about earthquakes in South Carolina as well. They happen. We talk about earthquakes and tremors in Georgia. They happen. They happen all the time. Any other questions? Mark Stolte says, looking at my earthquake app, I don't see any of these East Coast pneumatic quakes. That's because they're not reported. They're not reported. I've talked about this all day long. The only time you see it is on the seismograms. The seismograms don't lie. Mark, the seismograms don't lie. I feel bad. I feel very bad, especially when nobody is talking about it. It's like it doesn't happen. If you don't see it, it never happened. I honestly believe that the United States Geological Survey works that way. Or if they don't see it, it doesn't happen. Mark Stolte says, my earthquake alerts. Mark, I have those on my phone. It doesn't show them very often either. You have to go looking for the earthquakes on the seismograms. You're not going to see it. 8 Doug says, oh wow, I'm on the border of South Carolina and Georgia. Like I said, that's big time. That's big time. The agencies are not reporting this. And it's not just the USGS. I just showed you the information. Mark Stolte says, I'm not relying on the app. I trust you. I appreciate that trust. I will never violate that trust. Not now, not ever. Okay? I just got through showing you the seismograms. When I show you the seismograms, those are the evidence of the event happening. Okay? I've shown you earthquakes on the New Madrid Fault. I've shown you earthquakes on the East Coast. There's a reason that I'm adamant about getting an emergency plan written. If you're on the East Coast, you do have something to worry about. If you're around the New Madrid Fault, either north to south, east to west of the New Madrid Fault, you have something to worry about. If you're on the east or west coast of the United States or Canada, east or west coast of Canada, you have something to worry about. I've shown you earthquakes in Sweden, Spain today, and France are packed with earthquakes. Germany. Greece has approximately 23 earthquakes in Greece, including 2 in Athens. At the border region between Turkey and Syria, there's another 70 earthquakes today. Most of those are 1s and 2s, but there are also 3.2 and 3.4 earthquakes over along the border region of Turkey and Syria. Unreal. Unreal. But does the USGS show us that? No. I get that from my earthquake app. Okay? Yes, the earthquake app comes from the EMSC, the European agency. But they still don't show you everything. It's incredible. Mark Stolte says, God help us out. I agree. God help us. Do you have any more questions? That was great, Mark. I appreciate it. I appreciate all of you asking questions. That's important. There are no dumb questions. Okay? I love that question about the emergency preparedness plan. And that's just the beginning, guys. A while back, and it's on the Emergency Management Associates YouTube pages. I pointed out there was one night that I labored, I believe it was a Friday night, that I labored to make sure I covered things on emergency plans. Specifically, you can go find that YouTube program that we put on and look at it. And you get a lot of great ideas on what you should include on your emergency plan. Mine's going to be different from you because I'm a different person and a different family from yours. But that will just give you a good idea of what to do. Okay? Any other questions here? It's already 8 p.m. Almost 8 p.m. Eastern Time. 7:55 p.m. Eastern Time. Mark Stolte says, I don't check my app very often because it's BS. It's not all BS. My earthquake app covers more earthquakes than USBS. Okay? USBS map is BS. Period. I'm sorry to say, they're BS. Plain and simple, BS. Now, I didn't used to believe that. I used to not believe that at all. But the last 20 or 30 years has shown me that. You can't trust the USBS any further than you can throw them. And believe me, I would like to throw them. I would love to become the principal person in charge of the USBS. Heads would roll. I would fire half the managers. And that's true. Half the managers should go away today, not tomorrow. Okay? Don Patoki just put up a statement saying, what is made clear by the constant USBS quake downgrading, they must think folks can't handle the truth. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. Nothing to see here, move on. It's a ruse. It's a ruse. Thanks for that, Don. That was awesome. Richard Smith says, where to find seismograms for Canada. Go over to Canadian earthquakes. Okay? Let me look in my... It's called Earthquakes Canada. nrcan.gc.ca, and you're going to come up with Earthquakes Canada. And they have a map of earthquakes. Okay? nrcan.gc.ca. They have a map of earthquakes, and you can pull up seismograms here as well. Okay? Literally north to south in Canada and east to west on both sides. Naturally, you're going to see more earthquakes on the west side, on the Pacific side. Tonight, over here on the northeast coast, and this is from the other day, and actually this is from the 18th. Today is the 21st. There was a 4.1 in the Labrador Sea. A 4.1 in the Labrador Sea. And they're reporting it. USGS didn't say anything about that. Okay? The Canadians often also tell us about earthquakes here in the U.S. For example, an earthquake hit in Cleveland, Ohio. It was a 2.4 minor earthquake, 5 kilometers deep. Cleveland, Ohio, Canadian has it. The U.S. didn't have it. Okay? I have all these seismic pages right at my fingertips here. I've got a list of them on my hard drive, so I make sure I have them here for you. Okay? Any other questions here? I love questions. Also, while I'm waiting to see if you guys have another question or two, please, before you leave, please make sure you click on the thumbs up button, the like button. Make sure you click on it and let us know whether you like or don't like our program. I have not showed many seismograms tonight. I could have. Because of computer issues, I'm not straining both computers here. I want to make sure that I'm giving you the information. Okay? I'm making sure you have the information. Any other questions? I might as well tell you now. This past weekend, someone who I counted on and thought was a very close friend let me know because she said I'm not a real Christian and she was no longer going to have anything to do with me. She was our go-to person when it came to videos for this program. She put together quite a few videos for our program over the years. She's no longer here. And she wiped out those videos so I can no longer show them to you. So for the time being at least, We're not going to have any videos at the beginning or the end of our programs. They're no longer here. I do have a video that starts off our Come Follow Me Sunday School program. We have that. But she left and said, "See you forever." She's not coming back. So our computer guru who's put together these videos for us is gone, which is sad, because she was a good lady. She was a good go-to person for almost everything. She's no longer here because she says, "I'm not a good enough Christian. I'm not a Christian at all." Who knows? I am a Christian. Anyway, guys, if you don't have any more questions, we're going to end this program tonight. I appreciate all of you who have been here. Please give us a thumbs up before you are here. If you have any other comments or questions, go down after this program in the comments section of our YouTube program and leave us comments of what you thought about tonight's program. Please share it with all your friends, your neighbors, your family, your extended family, your social media contacts, and also the people you associate with at work. Everybody needs this information. It's important. God bless you. God be with you until we meet again. We will see you on the other side. Have a great night, guys. Enjoy your evening. Good night.